My name's Jane Owen and I'm about to read you an extract from my latest book, The Bitches of Suburbia. This is a bit from very early on in the book, and the new neighbours are arriving, and this of course has caused a frisson of terror in the streets, because nobody ever knows what new neighbours are like until they get there. Kelly Cunningham turned to take a good look at what was going on at Casa de la Luna. The first thing that struck her was that the removals lorry itself was a very large one, and a very expensive looking one at that. Its gleaming burgundy sides were lettered in gold. The removals men themselves wore burgundy uniforms with the logo embroidered across the back in gold. It was all terribly smart. Its contents, however, were annoyingly anonymous. Furniture was shrouded in dust sheets. Paintings were covered in bubble wrap. Boxes were unmarked. No clues were being given. The second thing that struck her was the mess outside number 10. Number 10 had been sold at the end of the previous summer, and for once Kelly had been pleased and excited by this turn of events. The previous owners had worked abroad, had bought the property as an investment, and then promptly rented it out to a workaholic divorcee who'd allowed the front garden to become overgrown and infested with weeds, and who hadn't had the windows cleaned the whole time he'd lived there. Not once. Kelly had never seen inside the house, but she imagined, correctly, that it was neglected rather than loved, and when the sold sign had gone up, she'd braced herself for the onslaught of builders and decorators, and hopefully a gardener. She'd got none of those things. What she'd got was Hilary Jones, and Kelly, like most people on Horseshoe Lane, had taken an instant dislike to Hilary without really knowing why. It wasn't just that she was a single woman, which in itself was enough to set suburban sensibilities a-quivering, because that had become a moot point almost immediately. Hilary Jones was to beauty what Horseshoe Avenue was to architecture, and the general, unspoken consensus was that she was no threat to the married women of Horseshoe Lane, even if she were to don stockings and suspenders and a peephole bra and throw herself at any passing husband. Hilary Jones was, as Gertrude Mackenzie had once pointed out, nay damned oil painting. Still, Kelly had clung to the hope that this new resident would do something with her house when she'd appeared, out of nowhere on a wet October evening. There'd been no gold and burgundy truck, just Hilary Jones, several black bin liners, and half a dozen boxes turning up in a taxi. And since she'd moved in, she'd done nothing, absolutely nothing. Well, nothing but annoy Kelly with her apparent inability to put her bin back on her own property after the bin men had been. Oh no, Hilary Jones just left her wheelie bin on the street, stuffed to the gills, and an open invitation to every seagull and fox within a half-mile radius to drag all her half-eaten takeaways out on Horseshoe Lane. What were the new neighbours going to think? Kelly took a deep breath, turned her face up to the sun and felt its warmth. She tried to concentrate on how good it felt, how summer would be here soon, how the gardens of Horseshoe Lane would be full of the scent of flowers and the piquant smoke of barbecues, but, and not for the first time, her pleasure was short-lived. A smallish bank of grey clouds slid across the face of the sun, and the heat was wiped right off Kelly's face along with her smile. She slipped inside quickly, and as she did so, she spotted Hilary Jones' front door open. She hoped she hadn't been seen. I'd like to thank Wilfred, my assistant.